A mighty civilization, advanced cities, ships that ruled the seas. Then, one night, gone, swallowed by the sea. Plato called it Atlantis, and for 2,400 years, we've been told it's just a myth. But what if it wasn't? What if traces of Atlantis are hiding in plain sight? In Turkey, Egypt, and even the mountains of South America. Grab your snorkel, let's dive in. Welcome back to Ancient AF, where we examine some of history's greatest mysteries. First up, Plato, the original rumor mill. In 360 BC, Plato wrote Timaeus and Critias. In them, he claimed to have info passed down from an ancestor about a place called Atlantis, a super advanced island civilization. Atlantis sat beyond the Pillars of Hercules, that's modern-day Gibraltar for the non-geography majors. I had to look it up too. It supposedly had huge temples, gold everywhere, and an unstoppable navy. But they got cocky, angered the gods, and whoosh, gone in a single day and night. Just like vanilla ice. But critics say Plato made it all up. A metaphor for a perfect society that got too big for its britches. Here's the twist. Plato gave detailed measurements, family trees, and exact timelines, which is a lot of effort for an allegory. That's like writing a serious travel guide for Narnia. Meet Gobekli Tepe, the oldest megalithic site we've ever found. It's in Turkey and dates to about 9600 BC, the same date Plato claimed Atlantis sank. Hunter-gatherers supposedly built it with no farming, no cities, and no wheels. But they somehow carved 20-ton pillars, dragged them uphill, and aligned them to the constellations? Some researchers say, maybe they didn't invent this overnight. Maybe they were survivors from a lost coastal civilization that fled inland when the seas rose. Atlantis goes under, Gobekli Tepe pops up. Timing is a bit sus, my guy. Then there's Egypt, home of the pyramids, the Sphinx, and about 4 million conspiracy theories. Ancient Egyptians talked about Zep Tepe, the first time, when gods and demigods brought knowledge of farming, building, and writing. Stories say Zep Tepe happened before the pharaohs, when survivors from an older, drowned world rebooted civilization on the Nile. Well, there's no direct evidence that the pyramids are older than Egyptologists claim. It also seems odd that their civilization boots up, makes this masterpiece, then never manages it again. I mean, what are they, vanilla ice? Ice, ice, baby. It's a classic. Anyways, this is the later dynasty's best work, mud. The Wright brothers didn't start with a stealth bomber. We don't fly to Europe on those wooden-framed flappy planes. That's not how progress works. You don't go backwards, okay? It's not like rolling a bowling ball into a baby. The Sphinx might also hold an obvious clue. Water erosion. A boatload of respected geologists also agree with the assessment of Dr. Robert Schoch of Boston University. He claims the enclosure of the Sphinx, which was made at the time of the carving the iconic statue, showed thousands of years worth of water erosion. Only problem, Egypt's been a barren desert for the last 5,000 to 6,000 years, which means the Sphinx and its enclosure would have had to have been around thousands of years before dynastic Egypt ever started. Herodotus, the Greek historian, wrote that Egyptians talked of a seafaring people from the west who showed up out of nowhere with high knowledge. So maybe Atlantis didn't fully sink, maybe it just moved its smartest refugees to a less flood-prone desert. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Atlantic, the Andes and Mesoamerican cultures tell the same story. The Inca spoke of Viracocha, the bearded god who arrived after a massive flood, taught agriculture and stone building, then just sort of dipped out on his sailboat. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't see too many gods pulling up an outrigger to leave an island. Then there's the Mayans. They had Kukulkan. The Aztecs, Quetzalcoatl. Same story. God arrives from across the ocean, gives human civilization, then disappears? These cultures built pyramids aligned to the stars, just like in Egypt. Did they copy each other? I mean, they were oceans apart, and they didn't have cell phones. I checked. Or did they all inherit a blueprint from the same soggy survivors? The ocean giveth, and the ocean taketh away, and then giveth again. You know, as long as it's not regiftingeth. I hate when that happens. You know, like I know I gave you those, those glasses, and now you're regifting them to my. Just don't regift stuff.
here's where it gets even weirder.
Over 200 ancient cultures have a great flood myth. Mesopotamia had Gilgamesh's flood. The Bible had Noah's flood. Native North American tribes tell of flood survivors climbing mountaintops. Geologists say sea levels did jump by hundreds of feet around 11,000 years ago, exactly when Plato said Atlantis went, So maybe it didn't sink like Atlantis, the Disney movie. Maybe coastlines vanished as the Ice Age ended, drowning every city built along these shores. It's kind of like bye-bye beachfront real estate, hello suspiciously similar flood stories from people who never met. So, if Atlantis was real, a powerful seafaring civilization that vanished overnight, it means we know a lot less about our past than we think. It means humans were building big, clever things long before textbooks say they did. And it means we might not be as safe as we think, because if the ocean did it once, it can do it again. And this time, we have a lot more beachfront property to lose. So, was Atlantis a myth, a moral tale, or a real civilization whose survivors spread their secrets across the world? Gobekli Tepe, the pyramids, post-flood yacht gods, maybe they're all breadcrumbs from the world's soggiest conspiracy. Hit subscribe for more ancient rabbit holes, lost cities, and suspicious ruins they never covered in history class. And remember, if your landlord ever says beachfront views forever, double check with Plato first.